911, what's your emergency?
The following content is graphic, emotional, and includes dark humor that may not be suitable for all listeners. Discretion is advised, explicit content included. These stories are based on real-life EMS and first responder experiences. The calls are real, the providers are real. Names and patient details have been changed to protect privacy. Episodes may include trauma, suicide, abuse, medical emergencies, mental health struggles, or things your HR department would definitely not approve of. Any advice, opinions, or discussion of medical procedures are based on personal experience and should never override your local protocols, medical direction, or training. Use your damn brain. Follow your guidelines and your local or agency protocols. Follow your training. And when in doubt, call Med Control. Most importantly, if you're struggling, don't do it alone. Talk to someone, a coworker, a friend, a therapist, or hell. Reach out to me. I'll answer. Need help right now? Text or call 988 or visit 988lifeline.org.
All right, welcome to Dispatch and Dysfunctional. You know the saying, rank doesn't make you a leader. Tonight we're talking about what really does. Our guest is Brent Colbert, a first responder leadership expert and host of the First Responder Playbook. He's been in the thick of it, seen what happens when leaders crumble, and built a system for training responders who don't just survive chaos. They thrive in it. Brent, glad to have you here. I've introduced you as a leadership expert and the voice behind the First Responder Playbook, but I know there's more behind that. What would you like to add about your journey, and what's the one thing you hope responders listening today would walk away with?
Yeah, thanks for having me today. Been a police officer for over 10 years. And I think I went down this journey because I got tired of bad leadership in the first responder world.
Sounds about right.
And I think we can all relate to that. It's frustrating because it's such a great career profession. And so I want to slowly change the culture one day at a time. And that's how I started the podcast, and that's how I ended up here today.
Yes, sir.
And, we can always try to make this place better one day at a time. So I think the one thing that I would say that I want somebody that listens today to take away is just remember that you can make a difference, even on those days when it feels frustrating.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. That's one reason I started this podcast as well, is I'm trying to change the culture behind our lives as well in the end. It's kind of a two-way playbook, in my opinion. We have the stigma of how we are and who we are, and management has supposedly been in our shoes before, but they forget the shoes that they walked in, and then they walk on us. So I'm 100% agreeant in what I listened to a few of your podcasts, and I'm in agreement on how you propose it and say it, and it's a good. I like your podcast, by the way. So
I appreciate that. Just like you, I'm a newer podcaster, and I'm sure there's a lot of things I've done wrong. But I really truly try to take a wide range of guests, because we can learn from things that are not in the first responder world and apply them to first responders.
That's very true.
And, like I said, we should always be open to new ideas to make our profession better.
Yes, sir. Imagine walking into a scene where nothing makes sense, comms are failing, resources are thin, and everyone's looking around waiting for anyone to take control. That's where leadership shows up or doesn't. Brent Colbert has spent his career teaching that leadership isn't about barking orders. It's about the calm in the storm, clarity in the fog, and being the one person people trust when their hands won't stop shaking. Brent, you've said leadership in first response isn't about titles. Can you tell us about a moment where that truth smacked you in the face?
Yeah, for sure. So we got a very big. Well, I'll start from the beginning. I worked in a suburban metro agency just outside of Tulsa that had a large name brand casino, and we would get suicidal subject calls up there daily. I guess people go in the casino losing their money, and they decided hey, I want to make those claims if I want to end my life. I worked at an agency that usually we maybe had 2 or 3 people out, which was crazy for how busy we were. But I'll never forget this day we had 4 out. And we started going to this call, and they said, hey, this person's wanting to kill himself. No weapons. And so, what's one of the first things goes tell us? There's no routine call. But this was a routine call for us.
Right.
As we're pulling into the parking garage, they said, hey, they've walked into the first floor of the parking garage. There's one entrance. You circle back around and come back out. And as we're pulling up, they changed the call to the person was threatening to shoot people.
Oh, so it's homicidal. Fun.
Yes. And so we would have totally changed how we approach this differently, knowing that in advance. But, that's just part of our job. As we pull up, I see the suspect sitting against a security truck. Security's got him blocked in the car he was driving, which was a Dodge Hellcat. And as I step out of the car, he sees the police pull up. And he runs and gets in his car. So we start giving him commands at gunpoint because of the threats being made. Sometimes things work out in a way that maybe at the time that probably shouldn't have happened this way, but they worked out in the end. Security moved their truck.
Huh.
So he's no longer blocked in. He throws it in reverse and the pursuit's on. We chase him through the parking lot. We get to the roadway. It's 5 o'clock traffic. There's an interstate intersection right there. So traffic is just heavy, and we're hitting 150 within 45 seconds.
Damn. Okay.
Looking back on it now, I would have probably called the pursuit off just because of the conditions. But I got caught up in the moment. He had been threatening to shoot people, and he's not getting away from me. And we get in a pursuit, go about 5 miles. We're passing cars. He turns, and I realize he doesn't know where he's going because he does a turnaround. And I go from first car to second car, and my supervisor takes the lead. And he goes off-road. He hits a culvert. He Dukes of Hazzards it and flattens all 4 tires. So I pull up at an angle next to him, get out. I start giving him commands. And as I do, I see he puts 2 guns to his head. So I'm giving him commands. Hey, man, drop the gun, drops the gun. And my supervisor runs in between us. And tries to tase him.
Huh.
So my first instinct was to run up and pull him out of the way. And as I do that, the guy shoots himself. Just like in the movies, blood starts squirting everywhere. And it was a self-correcting problem. It turned into a wild backstory. The guy had went on a homicidal rage. His 14-year-old daughter had ran away with a trucker. She OD'd on the drugs he gave him.
Oh, shit.
The trucker doesn't call the police, does a run to Colorado from Kansas City, comes back, and then calls the police. So at a level, I understand why Dad snapped.
Just a bit?
Yeah. Dad snaps, shoots this guy in the leg, and then goes on the run and ends up at the casino, and that's when we run into him.
Damn, it's an interesting story right there.
100%. And the thing is you asked me, a leader's not defined by title. I had to pull my supervisor out of the way because he ran in between us with a guy with gun. And I love that supervisor to death. And I know why he did what he did. His dad had committed suicide. and he wanted to stop this guy from doing that too.
Oh, I got you.
But
Okay.
but I had to pull him out of the way and put myself in more danger because of that.
Right.
Because he acted with emotion instead of handling it how we should have.
And I think that's in all response fields, in my opinion. We have to try to collaborate our own feelings to do the job.
Yeah,
I've had instances even at EMS. I mean, I was an officer for 6 months, and I said, "Screw it, you guys can have it. I'm done." But EMS, I've been doing it for years, and I had an issue here in Mobile to where I let my emotions take best of me. I should have let PD do their job, but they didn't in the beginning, so I didn't think they were going to do a damn thing, and wound up getting smacked in the head with a metal pole from a naked black man. Which, on the plus side of all that, it turned out to be now it is a felony in Alabama to hit an EMS responder. So that's a plus, but
changing laws one call at a time.
In your experience, what separates leaders who melt under pressure from the ones who rise up?
Man, I always truly try to take the mindset of people can change and learn from their mistakes, because God help me, I've made mistakes over his career.
Oh, yeah.
But truly, when the pressure matters, the cream will rise to the top. I don't want to make too many Macho Man references today, but it's true. That's what separates the people who can do this job from people who can't. And when that pressure rises up, we have to respond to it. The key is, how do we respond to the pressure? So slow down, take a couple deep breaths, and handle the call how it should be. Quicker is not always better. Handling it the correct way is what matters.
Right. Yeah, it's like the old kid story of the turtle versus the hare. I mean, I think a lot of us need to keep thinking that way.
Absolutely.
You train people on the playbook for response. What's the first page of the playbook? The thing you think every responder should know before their first bad call?
Man, that's a good question. It's I truly think that you're going to see things that the majority of the world's never going to see. And that doesn't matter if you're at a small agency or a big agency. Come into the job with a mindset of you're going to see things that are messed up. And if you have trouble handling those emotions after the fact, make sure you get help. The old days of suffering in silence are over, and make sure to get the help that you need if you need it.
Yeah, it's out there, and people need to realize it. Actually, on that note, hell, I've turned a few people onto, 988. A lot of people didn't know about that. You could text them, call them, and you're anonymous. And that's actually, within the past 6 months, I've known 3 people that they've saved just from text messages.
Yeah, and I actually recently went down the road of getting certified as a live career leadership coach.
Oh, awesome.
Through first responder coaching, because I really want to tackle those issues head on before it gets to the point of needing a higher level of care.
Right.
And, I truly wish that when I was a younger officer, I had somebody to talk to about life situations, career situations, leadership situations. I actually got out of law enforcement during COVID because I was so burnt out, and I got sold a bill of goods to take over an insurance agency. Terrible time to take a fully commissioned job, and I failed at it.
Hey, you don't know. You don't know until you try, though. That's the problem with it.
Yeah, and so it's actually turned into a good thing, because I would have never pushed myself to get a master's degree, and now I'm working on my doctorate. So things work out in the end. But I wish I had somebody there to guide me through of, hey, man, slow down. You've got a good career. You got a good place you were working at. Let's work on some things to make you happier so that you don't leave, so you don't get burnt out. And, I'm going to start working on that over the next few months to get that live. And I want to help first responders all across the U.S.
Right. I think a lot of people agree with me on that, and that's an awesome thing to do for everybody. Like you said, the old way of thinking is out of there now.
Yeah.
I remember starting even 2016 when I started on the ambulance, it was still there. That was still the stigma. And now it's funny to see a bunch of the old timers start breaking down and talking to everybody.
Yep.
And that actually falls into this question I got for you right here too. Is what's one story from your own career that taught you leadership isn't optional, it's survival?
Man, I had a guy I'll call the salty sergeant. I'll preface this by saying me and my best friend both worked with him at the same agency, and my best friend and me both could save a kid falling out of a tree, and my best friend would get a commendation, and I'd get wrote up.
Sounds about right.
This guy had been at the agency before I started, but he had been out hurt when I started, and so he didn't start back on shift until I'd been there about a year. And man, everybody loved this guy. He was just such a great supervisor. And I'll never forget the first night we worked together. Tulsa police got in a pursuit. It was on the interstate. There's a concrete barrier median, and you had to go 2 miles down to the next exit to turn around. And it was under construction, so it was one lane. It was like 3 o'clock in the morning, so traffic wasn't heavy. And as we're getting close to the first exit where they were at, I would have to go down 2 more miles and come back around just to get to where they're at.
One of them fun setups. Got it.
Yes. And so their dispatch hollers at our dispatch and says, "Hey, we can't get a hold of them. Please check on them." Okay. So I get off on the exit right there, and I look up the off-ramp on the eastbound side, and I can see their lights up there. They're about 300 yards up there. The shoulder's wide enough for a car to go up. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. No one's coming down the off-ramp. So I hit my lights, and I start proceeding up the shoulder. I didn't see that there was a Tulsa police officer blacked out in the Arby's parking lot below us. They just weren't answering the radio, it turns out.
Oh, fun.
Yeah. So he, in his infinite wisdom, calls me out over the radio and says, "Hey, there's a police officer going up the shoulder the wrong way with his lights on." So, one, I felt like an idiot. But if they would just answer the radio, we'd have never been in that position in the first place. But I digress.
Yeah, that's. I think again that's common in all of our fields here. Is we all have that one guy that does not want to answer the fucking radio, answer the tones, nothing. So
yeah. So I get back down to the Arby's parking lot. A sheriff's deputy buddy of mine had also followed us over there. He pulled in. The Tulsa police officer, myself, and my sergeant. And I get down there, and he just jumps my ass and just starts stereotypical, like, vein-throbbing, giving me a complete cussing out dress down.
Oh.
Why the F did you do this? I'm going to call your parents and tell them that you died because you're being stupid. But I'll never forget, he said, "Why did you do this?" He asked me a question. And I answered. And he immediately started cussing me some more and said, "I should effing write you up. And, don't ever backtalk me again." And just dress me down in front of other agencies' officers.
Wow.
And from that moment forward, we never got along. And I ended up working with him, unfortunately, for like a couple more years. But he lost whatever shred of respect he had from that day moving forward. And so I realized that even if it's a stressful situation, non-stressful situation, how you treat people that are people underneath you, they will always remember that, and you can lose respect in an instant.
Oh yeah, and it's so hard to get it back is the problem.
Yep. And I'll never forget, there would be times he would, tell me something, and I'd purposely poke the bear to prove him wrong because I had no respect for him. And I later became a supervisor. He got promoted up to the patrol captain, and he pulls me in the office and he says, "Hey, I don't think you're ready to be a corporal." And I said, well, that's funny because I don't think you're ready to be a captain, but here we are. And you think, man, why would you be disrespectful like that? Because he started it years before.
Right.
And never one time said, hey, man, I'm sorry for treating you like that. That is my journey of why I want to change leadership in first responders.
I think we all should own up to our own mistakes. It's another thing.
100%. And you will never hear me. Oh, man, it just drives me nuts to this day. I think that you have to be able to own up when you make a mistake, like you said. And if you overstep your bounds like that, pull that person aside later on and say, hey, man, I messed up. Like, what can I do to fix this?
Right. And another thing that I don't like on that note of things is if someone messes up, don't berate them in front of other people. Take them to the side, have a small talk, get it done that way. Don't embarrass them in front of the other members of the crew or the team or whatever.
100%. And that's my thing is if you want to give me a talking to, that's 100% fine. But don't ask me a question if you don't want an answer.
Right.
And I've never forgot that, man. And like I said, for multiple years after, I didn't care that he was a supervisor or not. He had no respect in my book.
Yeah.
And, it contributed me to end up leaving the agency down the road. And here I am today, but by God, I learned from it. And I'm always going to tell that story, not to make that person angry and or anything like that, but it's truly something that defined part of my career.
Right. And now you're doing a lot of good with it. So
Yep.
Making amends in the end for someone else's mistakes.
Yep.
What was the first time someone looked at you for leadership before you felt ready?
Oh, man, I go back to that story I told you earlier where the guy shot himself.
Right.
I was a corporal then, but I wasn't the head supervisor that day.
Right.
And people have to realize when you're put into a supervisor's role, your agency really should send you to supervisor training, and they didn't. And so I was really a supervisor in title only. I just kept doing what I'd been doing and was being an officer with a title.
Gotcha.
And
Trained
so
in the field.
my one advice to new supervisors is if you're put in that role and your agency won't send you to supervisor training, seek it out on your own. Because I truly was ready, but I didn't have that formal training of, hey, you should probably act this way. And so I just kept being an officer. And I truly don't think that it went bad, but I don't think my first time as a supervisor went as good as it could have been. And so the second time I was made a corporal at a bigger agency, I felt like it went so much better because I actually got leadership training. And I wish I would have, went and seeked that out myself the first time, because like I said, it wasn't bad, but it could have actually been a lot better if I had true training in how to be a leader. I was ready. I just didn't have the training.
Right. I think in my opinion, a lot of people don't know that they can reach out to get those resources themselves. I think a lot of people, they're like, well, the agency sends me, I can't go, but I can't do it myself. But that's not true. Any class your agency sends you to, you can always go to yourself. There's always ways around it.
Yeah, and that's actually to your listeners, I'm actually doing a leadership class starting in October that we're going to meet 1 day a week for 10 weeks over Zoom for 90 minutes at a time.
Oh, wow.
And it's going to be a group session over a different topic each week.
Send me that link, and I'll put it in the post I make, and also on the podcast. I don't know what the hell to call them. The episode.
Yeah, for sure. And my thing is I'm doing it at an affordable price for first responders, $150 for 15 hours of continuing education. But I'm also doing it in that format because we're going to have group interaction, because we can always learn from our peers.
Oh yeah, 100%.
But also a different topic each week. And also, we can take 90 minutes out of a day to do it one day a week. It is so hard as a first responder to go to do 15 hours over 2 days straight because of schedules or whatever the case may be. I want to make these trainings available to more people. And if I can do a little piece to help make that a little bit better, I'm going to try.
Right.
And that's something actually I'm working on right now. So
I gotcha.
I agree wholeheartedly. I want these ideas to be out there and more accessible to more people.
Hell yeah, that's fucking awesome right there, man.
Yep.
So why did you? This is a two-part question. Why did you create the first responder playbook, and what gap did you see in the way we train people for this job? I mean, you pretty much just answered it, but
yeah. So I became interested in podcasts in 2014 when I became a cop. 8, 10, 12 hours in the car every night. I mean, I had a lot of downtime.
Oh, right.
And so I've always loved podcasts, from the paranormal to police work to sports to whatever the case may be. And about 6 months ago, I said, I've got a lot of stories to share. And that's how I'm a man of action sometimes. And I decided, we're going to start a podcast.
Yeah.
And here I am.
I hear you on that one.
Yeah. And I never realized how busy I would be with it. I mean, I've been doing episodes 2 or 3 times a week. But I love it because I get to hear these new ideas and these guests and present them to the first responder world. So as busy as I am, I'm enjoying it, man. So that's my journey into podcasting.
I gotcha.
But the biggest gap in training is, I think, the scheduling, because it's so hard for us to send people to multiple day trainings.
Right.
And lack of funds. So my goal, and that's why I'm trying this new format out, is trying to make it more available to other people.
Right.
I know most fire departments and ambulances, you usually work 24, 48, 72. But there are still a few that work 8-hour shifts, 10-hour shifts, 12s. Right. But a lot of cops, they work afternoons or overnights. And it's terrible to flip your sleep schedule around like that and just to go to training. If I can make these more accessible, more affordable to everybody, and not upset their whole life schedule just to go to training, that's my goal. That's our biggest gap, is scheduling your actual life schedule
with your work
funds, man.
Yep.
And so we need more trainers that recognize that and adapt to our people.
Right. Well, and like you said, $150, that's pretty affordable as well. So that's not terribly, out of the realm of, like you said, that's what you said, 15 hours of CEs.
Yep.
So that's $10 every 10 hours. That's not,
Yeah. And here's the deal. Whatever field or state you're in, I'm willing to work with you to get it accredited in your state or your field to help you get CEs.
Right.
Because I know the struggle of that. So, I mean, if anybody wants to sign up, get with me, and I'll work with you in getting accredited in your state for your field to help you out, because we've got to change how we train our people, and we also have to expand leadership ideas to a broader audience.
Yes, sir. What's a common bad habit or myth about leadership that you're trying to crush?
I mean, I think I touched on the main one, and that's attitude. So I'll give a second point. I think that is truly, and we've kind of touched on this earlier, don't forget where you came from. A problem I ran into recently is supervisors that, they'll not leave the office all day. And you got people that are out there shagging calls, and you never see your supervisors for 8, 10, 12 hours. And I understand that, like, there's stuff in the back end that the regular guys don't see.
Right.
But your troops, your EMTs, your firefighters, your officers, they need to see you out there in the field. They need a leader at times. And if you've got to, delegate some other tasks off so you can get out of the office, then you need to do that, because they need to see you out in the field. They need to see you out there with them, because it establishes that respect and trust, and your people need to believe in you.
Yes, sir. I agree with you on 100% on that one. I've had leaderships that they don't leave their office. Once they get that promotion, they're stuck behind a desk, and to me, that's not how it's supposed to work.
Well, and the great thing about that is if somebody feels a certain type of way and hears this, the great thing is you can change that.
Right. Exactly.
So we can always improve. It just takes that 5 minutes of, I've been messing up. How do I fix this?
That's it. You got to speak to your crews. You got to speak to your guys that are your peons, if you will.
Yep. 100%.
Here's a good one right here. How do you coach people to step up when the adrenaline is making them shake, or when they're just scared shitless?
Man, I've touched on that earlier, and I'm going to expand on it because it's so true. Quicker does not always make better. And if it takes you an extra couple beats to slow down and handle that call correctly, then you should do that. Too often, especially in the law enforcement world, we see the bad things on TV of, hey, they shot somebody, or, hey, they should have handled this call differently. Slow down, respond appropriately, and you will handle the call in the way it should be.
Correct.
Take that extra beat, because quicker is not always better.
Yes, sir. You've been blunt that bad leadership kills morale, and sometimes more than morale. Can you share a time where failed leadership made a bad call worse?
Yeah, I always go back to leaving my agency during COVID, because the middle management was so toxic that I was so burnt out, and I didn't have anybody to share like how burnt out I was, that I left. And I took a job that I failed at. I went through a bankruptcy because of it, and I'm not afraid to talk about it. And I'll tell you why. Because bad leadership drove me to making bad decisions. And I'll own my part of it. But you know what I can do is I can make leadership better so that those things don't happen. That officers can now have that support system also, so that they're not so burnt out that they leave as well. That's my overarching theme of bad leadership affecting officers. Now, let me rephrase this for a more in-depth call. Salty Sergeant again had just got on to me saying I needed to answer my radio on a welfare check. Said I didn't answer in a quick enough time frame. Okay, yes, sir, I will make sure to answer my radio when dispatch hollers at me. I apologize. Same night, I'm bebopping back down into town. I had gave somebody a ride to a truck stop outside of town. Stop a car. Guy's got a felony warrant. I place him under arrest. I'm driving back to the police department. There's only two of us out. And he gets into a chase that he never calls out over the radio.
Oh, fuck.
The guy's running from him, but he's chasing him in the car. Chases him across the highway. Gets out of his car, gets into a foot pursuit. Runs into like a big drainage culvert that has like river rock. Gets his foot stuck in the rock. Gets into a fight with the guy. Finally gets him into custody. I can't leave at this point because I've got somebody under arrest.
So you already got one in custody, so you can't leave them.
But the best part about it is he never called it out until he's already fighting the guy.
That's a smart
It's
move.
the same night of him lecturing me because I didn't answer a welfare check on myself over the radio, and he gets into a big pursuit and never even checks out on it until the end of it.
Damn. Yeah, that could have ended a lot worse.
100%. And we have to remember as leaders, like, if we're going to give advice, we got to follow it too.
That's very true.
And again, that was just more of that the erosion of respect I had for him because he wasn't even going to follow his own advice. And man, that's my practical application of this is why leadership needs to change.
Right. So, in first response, we all joke and roast each other, but under that's often unspoken fear and doubt that we all have with ourselves. How do you make room for honesty without losing respect?
I think you have to come from a place of establishing a relationship with the people that you're giving that feedback to know that it's not coming from a judgment position. And so first and foremost, you have to have that established relationship of trust and knowing that they're going to have your back, even if it's something that you need to be corrected on. Secondly, when giving the feedback, you have to be genuine and authentic and not in a judgment tone. So, if you're correcting somebody and saying, hey, man, you could have handled this better, explain it like you'd want to hear it. And so those are my big takeaways in how you should give feedback and establishing those relationships to give that feedback so that's received positively and not from a judgment position.
Yeah, I like that. I like that answer on that one. So here's one that'll follow that pretty well. What's the difference between discipline and humiliation in leadership?
99% of the time, it's how you deliver your message. It's know your audience. Don't be delivering these messages with other people around, because that usually leads to humiliation. How you deliver the message matters, and I think that the one thing you have to just fall back on is how would I want that to be delivered to me, and think about that and slow down for a minute. And if you can remember that 99% of the time, you're going to be okay.
Yeah. So here's a pretty lengthy question, but for the rookie EMT walking into their first bloody crash scene, for the firefighter about to lead a crew through a building they're not sure is safe, or for the officer with a partner losing faith in them, what's the one piece of advice you tattoo on their brain about leadership under fire?
That it's gonna be okay, and you're gonna fall back to the training that you've been trained on. So, trainers, you have to train your people appropriately. Your field trainers have to follow your program to further refine those ideas. And officers or partners, you have to be your support system for those new officers going into those situations. Help them out, and then after the fact, debrief with them to see how we could have done things better, what went right, and what went wrong.
Yes, sir. So what do you wish someone had told you before your first leadership role?
Before my first leadership role?
Yes, sir.
Man, that's a good question. Probably to lead by example. Because like I said, I didn't have any formal leadership training that first time I was a supervisor. And so I was just out there being an officer still, doing what I always did. And sometimes I think that I was more worried about being an officer instead of a supervisor.
Right.
And so just remember that now your role's a little bit different, and you have to lead everybody and not just yourself.
On that note, I've been in the sort of the same realm. I've worked on the ambulance. I actually went to offshore, and I'm literally the only medic out there, and I have to train other people who don't know nothing about medical at all what to do. So I have to break myself back down to being a basic and not a medic, and it's kind of hard, in my opinion, to be able to go back to your roots to be able to train, but you remember it in the end.
Absolutely.
You know, if you had to boil leadership down to one word, what would it be and why?
Trust. Because without trust, you don't have any true leadership. So your people have to trust you, and that establishes respect, establishes authority, and never forget that you had to have those relationships with your people so that they can trust you.
I appreciate it. Yeah, that was my last question for you. That was Brent Colbert, proving that leadership isn't about stripes or shiny badges. It's about who you are, where the sirens fade, and all the eyes are on you. Check out the First Responder Playbook to dive deeper into Brent's work and hear how he's reshaping what leadership looks like in the world. And remember, bad leadership gets people hurt, good leadership saves lives, sometimes without ever touching a patient. Let me stop this recording. Need support right now? Text or call 988 or visit 988lifeline.org. You're not alone, not in this job, not in this fight. Want to share your story or connect? Visit critical-run.com or message the Facebook page Dispatched and Dysfunctional. We're building this for you, for them, for all of us. I have quite a few more guests scheduled to come onto the show in the next few weeks. Stay tuned.